With News Hour. Now, employment numbers from the formal sector released today show there were more people working between January and March of this year compared to the previous 3 months. But total earnings paid to employees dropped, possibly as most businesses implemented some cost-cutting measures. Now, today's quarterly formal employee numbers released by Stats SA doesn't convey the unemployment rate, but looks at how many jobs were lost or created in specific sectors. There's your number, 22,000 jobs added between January and March this year. And we take a closer look at those gains, we'll see what were the main drivers. You look at community service, which is essentially government jobs, and perhaps we have those voluntary workers or community workers that helped in the elections, probably propping up that number, 9,000 of a contribution there to the number. Mining and quarrying, 6,000 up. Manufacturing and business services, also those sectors employing 5,000 more people each. But there were also some sectors that shed jobs. You look at the trade sector, down 8,000. Of course, there's also some casual employment there. But the big ones, electricity and construction. Construction workers down by 1,000. I mean, this really is an important, vital part of the economy. And when you see workers really being sucked out of the sector, it speaks to how bad or difficult things are going for that particular sector in the economy. But also released today are total earnings paid to employees. That actually decreased by 40 billion rand. That's about a 5.5% shrinkage. And businesses paid 36% less in bonuses and overtime in the first quarter compared to the prior 3-month period. So indeed, there is far less money circulating around the economy, despite the fact, as we said, that we've added 22,000 jobs to the formal economy in between the first 3 months of the year. So could we see worsening labor absorption levels in sectors that are rapidly digitizing? Well, Thabang Rapuleng is the Director of Employment Services at Cliff Decker Hofmeyr. He joins me now. Thabang, thanks very much indeed for coming in. So, I mean, you know, cost-saving measures and efficiency are in full swing. I suppose that's why digitization is so important in the economy. Should we fear it?
Well, Devin, simply speaking, my answer is no, we should not. What is happening is that it calls upon employers to empower the workforce differently. And it calls upon now the workforce itself to enhance and upskill. But I will say we should not fear it. I don't see digitization replacing the manual workforce. It's likely going to take care or replace, substitute things like your repetitive tasks as opposed to your creative thinking kind of tasks. So it requires the workforce to simply enhance their skills and adapt.
I mean, so what you're essentially saying is with artificial intelligence, for example, it frees up people doing some of the tasks and probably pushing them into more creative things around that particular sector.
Yes, that's what it does. And what it also does, it forces people to also keep up with what's happening in the world, in globalization. It forces workers to also now enhance their skills so that they are also easily marketable. Now, as opposed to doing a repetitive task, now you are forced to go beyond that. You are forced to look at other opportunities within the organization that you can do, and other opportunities even external to your organization.
But let me put this to you, Thabang. We have a tremendous misalignment in this country with the skills that are produced by individuals and the demands from your corporate and business sector that's needed in many instances to drive this digitization. It's a classic example when we look at these employment figures. The skills just don't match what's demanded for by businesses. How do we rectify that?
Yeah, it's quite a tough one. It's quite a tough one, and I'm glad that there seems to be discussions happening about it. Even when you look at in the academic field, those discussions are taking place. In government, those discussions are taking place. But I will say perhaps the most effective way that we have now is the corporate sector itself taking the workforce that it already has in its employ and upskilling and retraining them to be prepared for the workplace of the future, as opposed to waiting now for the academic side of things to improve. So I will say the corporate world will need to take the lead, because the employees are already in their space, and they really need them to make sure that they can compete globally.
When you are in this space, you're obviously keeping an eye on what policy is doing, what direction it's flowing in, and the laws and the efforts to actually improve education in that direction. What's your take on what's happening on a governmental level at this stage?
Well, it's quite a tough one, because as much as there seems to be policy being pronounced on certain issues, there seems to be different voices on exactly what is the policy. One looks at maybe the topical issue of land, expropriation of land. Such issues, obviously, they create this, they feed this notion that there's policy uncertainty. But I will say we are facing a challenge as a country, and it's quite a difficult one. I don't think there's going to be easy solutions unless the government basically affirms its position on economic policy and affirms the people who should be commenting on economic policies, so that we know which voices to listen to when it comes to economic policies.
All right, Thabang, thanks very much indeed for coming in. Thabang Rapuleng, Director of Employment Services at Cliff Decker Hofmeyr.